We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
And we're back with Liberty Nation's legal eagle, Scott Dickerson, discussing the sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden's tax and gun crimes. Now, earlier in the show, we tackled the politics and the legal angles. But now I actually want to discuss if his troubles are actually over. Now, Scott, congressional Republicans, they're saying that they're still investigating Hunter Biden and the Biden family writ large for other crimes. So am I right in thinking that if the judge approves this deal that's been put forward by Mr. Weiss, then Hunter can't be charged with the same things again, as in like a double jeopardy situation?
Hunter Biden can't be charged again by the federal government for these same crimes. Now, the reason why I stated it that way is because if somebody does an act that could be a state crime and a federal crime, then that can be prosecuted in both a state court and a federal court in what I and many others believe is a misreading of our Constitution. But in any case, that's the state of the law. So if I were to, for instance, or somebody else, definitely not me, Mark, somebody else was to encounter a congressperson that they disliked intensely and they slapped them in the face, they would probably be prosecuted at the state level for assault, but they could also be, I'm sure there's some special federal law about striking a congressperson. They could be prosecuted federally for that crime as well.
So Representative Comer, he's, as we discussed, he's going after the Biden family money trail, as it's called, talking about the shell corporations that have been set up either by a Biden family member or for the specific usage by a Biden family member. Now, this in no way has anything to do with what's just happened in Delaware, right? So this is something
Mark,
that's going to
the only thing that Hunter Biden is immune from with respect to future charges is not having reported fully instances of income that occurred in 2017 and 2018 and lying on one single gun application. Basically, that's all. So they can't charge him with that. But anything else, this has nothing to do with the laptop or any data that were discovered on there. This has only to do with 2 years of income and a certain amount of unreported income and one instance of lying on this form. That's it. This is not this is not some future proofing for Hunter Biden with more respects. I think, except for maybe it gives some legacy media types the impetus to say, this has been dealt with. It has nothing to do with Joe Biden.
That is such a common refrain. This is something that's been dealt with, or it's been debunked without ever actually pointing out the debunking. Yeah. It's almost a panacea for an uncomfortable question. Should let's call it the legacy media ever deign to try and answer the questions that are brought about. Now, let's shift just politically for a second here. Hunter Biden, he's been dealt with by law on these things. He hasn't been dealt with in whatever investigation, whatever crimes attempt to be brought up or brought forward by the investigation by the GOP Congress. But this has to hurt Joe Biden politically, doesn't it?
Well, gee, Mark, I would think so. What should really hurt, from my perspective, what should hurt him politically more than his son's tax evasion and disrespect for the nation's firearm laws is that he thinks it's okay to charge Donald Trump with crimes that should put him in prison until he's dead, and then let his kid go without so much as a by your leave and not really talk about it and not have this sort of come to Jesus moment about the existential issues that this presents. I think, hoping that it just gets a pass. And those legacy media types seem to be giving him that pass. I saw on the most recent Tucker Carlson show episode where he talks about how they sort of pre-cleared this announcement. And so even more than a month ago in interviews where journalists were stating, this doesn't involve you, but your son may have to face some consequences here. Like, announcing ahead of time that this has nothing to do with the president himself. This is only about his issue.
Let's very, very quickly, if I may, Scott, I just want to check something with you about Donald Trump, as you just mentioned him, and he's facing these 37 charges. And one of the most damaging pieces of evidence that we discussed that was put forward by the person bringing the prosecution was that he had spoken, and there was a recording of him talking about this. I could have declassified this, blah blah blah, and that when we discussed that together, we thought, well, that's going to be some quite damaging evidence. But in a recent interview with Fox's Brett Baier, he said that I was holding a newspaper and I was talking about a newspaper story. Now, he said that.
So the conversation that you're talking about, just so people understand, this was quoted in the indictment itself. They included a transcript of the relevant portion of that conversation. So just to be clear, it wasn't just that you and I thought this was going to be a key moment.
Sure.
The prosecutors say this is the key moment right here. Here's the goods. This wasn't about just some rando document that he mishandled. Like, here he is right here disclosing some national secret document. And I saw the portion of the interview that you're talking about where he basically says, and so that differs entirely from what we learned in the indictment. We're gonna find out, more information as that goes forward. But one of the things that Mr. Trump will probably learn is that these these interviews will be part of the evidence that's presented against him. And it is like any lawyer would tell his client, don't talk about this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, this is, first of all, you shouldn't talk about it at all. But if you want to say you've been prosecuted unfairly and you're in the middle of a presidential race, then okay, obviously fine. But in terms of the specific charges, what happened in a specific meeting, that if that's going to be examined in court, and certainly it will be because of the indictment and the attention that was paid to that conversation, Mark, he's got to stop talking about it. It's shocking, quite honestly.
Scott, I don't think he's going to stop talking about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be back after this short break with Scott Cosenza talking liberty. Don't go anywhere. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are libertynation.com.